All right. So I went ahead and started recording this presentation. If anybody missed it that you know wanted to listen and catch it, it will be posted on the Power Station website later today. So having said that, let's go ahead and get into it. So today's What's What for April is Move More, Live More. So this is actually an initiative started by the American Heart Association, and the whole premise is to kind of present you with information that will help you to increase your longevity, decrease your risk of a lot of diseases associated with sedentary behavior. So jumping right in, we've got how much should we be moving? So according to the physical activity guidelines for Americans, based on the current scientific evidence that we have linking activity level to disease risk, overall health and well-being, the current research suggests that at least 150 minutes per week of moderate aerobic activity or 75 minutes per week of vigorous aerobic activity, or a combination of the two for the most maximum benefit, is recommended. You can also gain even more benefits by being active at least 300 minutes per week, so on average 5 days a week. And then moderate to high intensity muscular strengthening activity at least 2 days per week is recommended. Then the biggest one we're going to focus on today is spending less time sitting. So even short bouts of light intensity activity can offset the risks of being sedentary. So let's go over the dangers of sitting. I'm sure you guys understand that, you know, being in a desk job primarily, there are a lot of risks associated with all the sitting we do on a day-to-day basis. So this isn't meant to fear-monger you, but it is hopefully a little eye-opening so that when we do get to some of the tips, it kind of rings more true to you and makes you really want to do anything you can to mitigate these dangers. So the first danger of sitting is it increases risk for developing obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, deep vein thrombosis, certain types of cancer, metabolic syndrome, and early mortality. Sitting for more than 6 hours a day on average resulted in decreased muscle mass and bone density in otherwise healthy adults. The third danger is sitting for prolonged periods can affect your muscles as well as your heart health. Sitting tightens the hip flexors and hamstring muscles, which can then affect walking, running, and exercise mechanics, which all contribute to low back pain and knee pain. And especially when working with computers and hunched over our keyboards, the shoulders hunch forward around the upper back, which affects our posture and again contributes to back and neck pain. And finally, if you meet the physical activity guidelines, sitting for prolonged periods have been shown to negate some of those positive effects of exercise. So those who are active but still spend most of their day sedentary were still at risk of developing the diseases associated with excess sitting regardless of their activity level. And then in addition to that, those who are physically active can still develop muscle tightness and shortening that can affect their physical activity. So it's important for everyone to try to break up their sitting time as much as possible throughout the entire day. So let's go ahead and give you some guidelines for sitting now. Most health experts agree that there should be guidelines like those for physical activity for how often we should be sitting. So generally, the research has shown that for every 30 consecutive minutes of sitting, 5 minutes of movement is recommended to reduce the health risks that we see from that sedentary behavior. The good news is that 5 minutes of movement can count towards your weekly exercise goals. It was previously thought that physical activity needed to be accumulated in bouts of 10 minutes or more to really see benefits. I'm sure you guys may have heard that in the past. I know even as recent as a few years ago, that was the general thinking. But new evidence suggests that movement bursts lasting less than 10 minutes can still contribute to your 150 minutes of activity and yield similar results to longer bouts of prolonged physical activity. So the take home here is, now more than ever, science points to any amount of movement being better than none. Our second guideline for sitting is, although there is no consensus on what the limit of sedentary time should be each day, there is no doubt that we should be trying to decrease our sedentary time each day from the national average of 12 hours per day. So the important thing to keep in mind for now is to decrease your sedentary time from wherever you may stand at this point. More movement is always better. So now let's get away from the doom and gloom and talk about some benefits of movement. So adding in small amounts of movement to your day, even just 5 minutes for every 30 minutes of sitting, as we just discussed, has a lot of potential health benefits. It can help reduce the risk of developing chronic diseases like diabetes, cancer, and metabolic syndrome. And then, as we discussed, even short bouts of movement contribute to bone and muscle health. Weight-bearing exercises like walking are best for conserving bone health and preventing osteoporosis, or breakdown of the bone. And for muscle health, stretching and strengthening, even in short bouts, can conserve or build muscle mass. So even small amounts add up in terms of your body's metabolism. Adding any extra movement throughout the day can help you maintain or lose weight by increasing your calorie burn or expenditure. Most of your daily energy expenditure comes from these movements that you incorporate throughout your day, and not from the exercise sessions with prolonged activity. So moving more in small ways can have a substantial impact on your body's ability to burn extra calories. In addition to this, it can also help regulate blood sugar and blood pressure in the same way that structured exercise does. The next benefit of movement is it gives you a chance to take a mental break, which typically can help you reduce stress and increase your focus. The next benefit is that taking breaks from sitting, especially in an office setting, can help to reset bad posture. Moving more can decrease muscle tightness in the hips, shoulders, neck, and back, typically associated with sitting. It can also help improve your posture, as we just discussed. And then finally, if you already meet the physical activity guidelines of 150 minutes per week, reducing sitting time and getting up more will allow you to reap the health and physical benefits of exercise. If you're already physically active, moving more during the day can help improve muscle tightness and prevent imbalances that may affect your athletic performance. So what are some ways to move more? So if you aren't meeting the minimum guidelines for physical activity of 150 minutes per week, start incorporating some aerobic exercise into your weekly schedule. Start slow and increase as you go. Every minute adds up. Anything from walking, running, biking, hiking, dancing will work. Most importantly, just start moving more. Secondly, make movement breaks a habit in your daily routine at home and at work, and use tools to form and keep these habits. We'll discuss a few ways to do this on the next slide. But the final way on our slide here for how to move more is starting small. Pick one way you can start moving more and go from there. Don't put too much on your plate all at the same time. Starting small will help you form habits, and over time you won't spend as much time or energy thinking about adding movement to your day. It will just become a part of your daily life. So let's talk about how we can create some habits. This is the technology age, so don't be afraid to use tools like timers, calendar reminders on your phone to remind you of cues to get up and move. You can set a timer to remind yourself to get up every 30 minutes. Block out your exercise session on your calendar to ensure you're making time to be active, or use cues from your daily life to remind you to move. Some examples of cues you could use are standing up to answer the phone every time it rings. You could stretch or do some body weight exercises after a TV episode ends or during commercial breaks. One thing I love to do when I'm just watching anything at home is do some mobility stretching stuff on the floor. Really easy to fit that in, and that still counts as activity towards your daily goal. Finally, you can take a lap around the office when you go to get up and fill your water or use the restroom. The next way you can create a movement habit is getting others involved. Recruit your desk mates or family to join you in your activity breaks and use each other to keep accountability strong. Make work meetings walking meetings when you can. Pick family activities that get everyone moving, or meet a friend for a hike instead of sitting down for a high-calorie lunch. Then the third way you can create movement habit, a good movement habit, is tying typically sedentary activities to active ones. So save a good TV show to watch only at the gym to encourage you to get your exercise in and walk around during your phone calls or while you're doing something that you typically would be sitting for. Try an audiobook or news podcast instead of sitting to read or watching the news from the couch. So some more ideas for moving more. Got quite a few here. I'll just read off a few. But you can walk faster. Anywhere you're walking, pick up the pace just a little bit to more of a brisk walk, and you'll burn more calories and strengthen your cardiovascular system. Use the bathroom on another floor of your building. At work, walk over to someone's desk instead of emailing or calling. Similarly, you can hold walk and talk meetings when possible. And then one more example, as we discussed earlier, is use technology. If you've got a smartwatch or a fitness tracker, there's many free apps that you can use on your phone as well, where you can set reminders to get up and move. Setting a step goal can also help. Try aiming for 7,000 to 10,000 steps per day. Obviously, don't set a 10,000 step goal if you're only hitting 5,000 right now. Make small goals that you can achieve over time to help keep you motivated. So the big picture here is adding movement breaks into your daily routine and decreasing your sedentary time will decrease your risk of developing chronic disease and other health problems like back pain and muscle tightness. If you are already physically active during the day, keep in mind that sitting for extended periods of time will still take a toll on your health. More movement is always better, as we said earlier. You can increase your movement by making it a habit. We outlined some ideas, but be creative and find a solution that will work for you. Don't be afraid to try a couple different things to see what works best. What works for someone else may not be the best thing for you. Don't be afraid to experiment. The third big picture item is utilize resources like calendar reminders, phone timers, smartwatches, movement cues, and peer, friend, and family support to remind yourself to get up and move every 30 minutes. Then lastly, simply move more to live more. Any amount of movement that you can get into your day, especially when it comes to meeting the physical activity guidelines and decreasing your sedentary time, will undoubtedly make you feel better, be healthier, and live longer. So that's all I've got for today. Thank y'all for bearing with me through the technical difficulties in the beginning. And stay tuned for next month's What's What on social well-being. Anybody have questions for me? All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you making it, and I hope to see you next month. Take care.